A woman may never put this into words, but one of the deepest desires she holds is to feel the strength of a man's leadership without feeling suffocated by his control. The distinction between confidence and control is everything, and it is often misunderstood by so many men. When a man shows confidence, it brings a sense of stability, direction, and calm into the relationship. It allows her to breathe, knowing she can rest in the presence of someone who knows where he is going. But when a man moves into control, it becomes stifling, suffocating, and heavy. She doesn't want to feel like her voice is silenced or her individuality is erased. She wants to be guided, not governed. This is the unspoken balance she craves, a leader who leads with love, not a dictator who commands with fear. There is a very subtle beauty in how women respond to this kind of leadership. When you as a man walk into the room with quiet strength, when you make decisions that show foresight, when you take responsibility without being asked, she notices even if she says nothing. It creates an invisible safety net for her, one where she feels her emotions can stretch out without fear of collapsing. She wants to feel that you are not just standing beside her, but also slightly ahead, paving a way, clearing obstacles, and showing by your actions that her well-being is part of your vision. She may never tell you directly that she is testing your capacity to lead, but she feels it in her core when you take initiative without waiting for her to carry everything. What often happens in relationships is that men either swing to the extremes. Some abandon leadership altogether, thinking equality means never taking initiative, while others confuse leadership with domination, believing their voice is the only one that matters. Neither end gives her what she truly longs for. She doesn't want to be left carrying the weight of all the decisions, nor does she want to feel erased under the shadow of your authority. What she truly desires is balance. She wants to feel your confidence, that you can take charge when needed, but she also wants her input valued. She wants you to listen, process, and then act, not simply bulldoze your way through her thoughts. Imagine for a moment a stormy night, the rain pouring outside, thunder shaking the windows, and fear creeping into her chest. She won't say it, but she wants to look at you and see calmness, steadiness, and presence. That calm assurance tells her that no matter how chaotic life becomes, you won't crumble. And this isn't just about external storms, but emotional ones as well. When conflict arises, when finances get tight, when family pressure mounts, your ability to hold composure and guide the situation with clarity is a form of leadership that fills her with security. She may never directly articulate it, but her body relaxes when she knows you can weather storms without panic. Leadership in love is not just about big, dramatic acts. It is found in the quiet, everyday choices. It's when you plan the dinner reservation instead of leaving her to decide. It's when you pay attention to the little details she likes and incorporate them without needing reminders. It's when you take responsibility for your actions without shifting blame. These small acts communicate, "I've got this, I've got us." And that message goes deeper than words because it reassures her nervous system in ways she may not even consciously realize. She wants to feel your confidence consistently in both small and large ways. A confident man doesn't just lead with words, he leads with his energy. Confidence is not about how loud you speak or how hard you press your opinion. It's about the energy you bring into a space. When you walk into a room with assurance, when you look her in the eyes with steady focus, when you choose decisively without hesitation, she feels grounded. She may never say, "Thank you for being decisive," but she will lean into that energy naturally. That leaning in, that surrender to your steadiness, is her silent acknowledgement that your leadership is making her feel safe, and safety for her is the doorway to love. But let us be clear, this leadership is not about perfection. It is not about having all the answers or never stumbling. In fact, it is in your ability to admit when you're wrong, to correct yourself, and to still keep moving forward that she feels your confidence most strongly. Control tries to cover up mistakes. Confidence owns them and learns. When you lead with humility, she feels respected. When you lead with empathy, she feels cherished. When you lead with consistency, she feels secure. These are the layers of leadership she craves but won't voice, because they are felt more than they are spoken. If you pay attention, you'll notice how she responds when you rise into this kind of leadership. Her shoulders soften, her tone warms, her guard lowers. She begins to share more freely, to love more openly, and to give more generously. That is because leadership from confidence creates an atmosphere of trust, and in trust, love multiplies. She wants to feel that she can surrender parts of herself without fear of betrayal or abandonment. She wants to know that she is not carrying the relationship alone, that there is a steady presence beside her. Even if she never tells you, this is one of her deepest needs. What she will never admit outright is that when you shrink back from leadership, she feels compelled to step forward and take control, not because she wants to, but because she feels she has to. And while she is capable, she doesn't want to carry that role in a relationship with you. She wants to admire your strength, not replace it. She wants to feel guided, not left stranded. That unspoken frustration she sometimes shows when you hesitate or withdraw. It's her silent plea for you to step up, not with aggression, but with assurance. It's her way of saying she wants to feel your confidence without ever having to beg for it. And so, even though she will rarely put it into words, her heart is waiting for that steady strength from you. She doesn't need control, she doesn't need domination, she doesn't even need perfection. What she longs for is the assurance that you can carry the vision, make decisions with wisdom, and hold her heart with steadiness. She wants you to be the kind of man she can look at in moments of chaos and still feel calm, because your energy communicates that everything will be okay. It is this unspoken desire that lies at the core of her silence, the thing she will never tell you but will always look for in you. A woman may never put it into words, but deep within her, she carries the desire to feel chosen every single day. Not just once, not only at the beginning, not only when you were trying to win her over, but continuously as time moves forward and the relationship evolves. Love is not static, and neither is the need to feel desired. She wants to know that in a world full of distractions, temptations, and shifting priorities, you still see her as the one you choose above all else. Even though she may not ask, every gesture, every word, every look of admiration tells her whether she is still your priority or just a part of your routine. There is something powerful about the act of choosing someone daily, something that extends beyond words and seeps into actions. When you hold her hand in public, you communicate, without saying a thing, that she is still the one you proudly walk beside. When you notice her new hairstyle or the effort she put into her outfit, it reassures her that you see her, even when life gets busy. Women don't always vocalize how much these little moments matter, but deep down, they crave them. They crave to feel like they are still worth the effort, still worth the attention, and still worth the small sparks of romance that make love alive. Too often, men believe that the pursuit ends once a relationship is secure. The courtship, the sweet words, the surprises, the effort, all of it tends to fade as comfort sets in. But what many men fail to realize is that women are not asking for grand gestures every day. They are asking for consistency. They are asking for you to remember that the woman you worked so hard to win still wants to feel pursued, still wants to feel special, and still wants to feel like she holds a unique place in your heart. When you choose her every day, it reignites her desire to choose you as well, creating a cycle of mutual appreciation. Choosing her daily doesn't always look like gifts or planned dates. Sometimes it looks like sending a text during a busy workday just to say you thought of her. Sometimes it looks like pausing for a moment, making eye contact, and saying, "I'm glad you're here." It might be cooking her favorite meal, remembering a small detail she once shared, or wrapping your arms around her at the end of a long day. These moments, though small, speak louder than any grand promise because they carry consistency. They show that even when life feels overwhelming, she is still the person you deliberately choose to pour into. It's important to understand that women don't need to hear, "I love you," in a repetitive, empty way. They need to feel it. Love that is not felt becomes hollow, and no matter how many times you say the words, without action they lose meaning. When you choose her through actions, it makes the words believable, it gives them weight. That is why she may never explicitly say, "I want you to choose me every day," but she feels the absence when you don't. She feels the silence when the affection fades. She feels the distance when you stop noticing, and she feels the emptiness when she is no longer prioritized. There is a quiet power in being reminded that you are still desired. It heals insecurities, softens doubts, and brings a sense of safety to the relationship. When a woman feels like she is still chosen, her heart expands. She becomes more nurturing, more open, and more generous with her love. She is able to give more freely because she is receiving the reassurance that she is still wanted. This is why so many relationships lose their spark. Not because the love disappears, but because the daily choosing stops. And while she might not complain, she feels the growing gap when consistency is replaced by complacency. Even the smallest gestures carry meaning far deeper than they appear on the surface. The kiss on the forehead before you leave, the way you introduce her proudly to others, the small compliment you whisper in her ear, these actions tell her, without words, that she still matters to you. They tell her she is still worth your attention, still worthy of your admiration, and still the woman you want by your side. These small choices create the larger narrative of her feeling valued, loved, and secure. Without them, she may begin to wonder if she is simply filling a role rather than holding a place in your heart. What she will not say is that she sometimes feels invisible when she is not chosen actively. She will not always tell you that she longs for your eyes to light up when you see her, even after years together. She will not always voice the ache she feels when you stop noticing the things she does to keep the relationship alive. Instead, she quietly carries that weight, hoping for moments of reassurance. Her silence is not an absence of desire, but a quiet plea for you to remember what it means to choose her daily. It is her way of saying she wants to feel treasured without begging for attention. When you choose her consistently, you strengthen the bond that keeps the relationship alive. You remind her that she is not taken for granted, that the effort she puts into loving you is matched by the effort you put into loving her. This daily choosing builds a foundation of trust, a sense of stability, and an intimacy that cannot be faked. It is not about perfection, but about presence. It is not about big promises, but about small consistencies. It is about reminding her, in countless subtle ways, that in your heart, she is still the one. And so, though she may never look you in the eyes and say the words, "I need you to choose me every day," it remains one of her deepest desires. Every act of affection, every glance of admiration, every small gesture of effort answers that silent question she carries, "Am I still the one?" When you answer with consistency, with presence, and with love, you fulfill a need she will never speak but will always feel. It is the daily choice that makes her feel secure, valued, and cherished, and it is this choice that keeps love alive long after the first sparks fade. A woman may never openly tell you that emotional safety means more to her than material things, but this truth lies at the center of her heart. Many men are conditioned to believe that providing financially, giving gifts, or maintaining stability is enough to secure love. While those things matter and create a layer of comfort, they cannot replace the deeper need of feeling safe emotionally. What she truly longs for is a space where she can express her fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities without judgment or rejection. She wants to feel that her words matter, that her feelings are not too heavy, and that her inner world has a safe place to land. Emotional safety is the currency that keeps love alive, and when it is absent, no amount of wealth can fill the void. It is easy to buy flowers, to take her on trips, or to surprise her with gifts, but it is much harder to sit with her in silence and truly listen. It is harder to lean into her tears without rushing to fix them or dismiss them. It is harder to hold space for her emotions when they feel inconvenient or uncomfortable. Yet these are the moments that define emotional safety. She wants to know that when she takes off the mask she wears for the world, you will not turn away. She wants to know that her softness is not a weakness to you, but a gift. She may not tell you outright, but her body, her tone, and her silence will reveal when she feels safe and when she does not. When a woman feels emotionally unsafe, she retreats inward. She becomes guarded, cautious, and less expressive. You may notice her speaking less, sharing less, or even withdrawing her affection. This is not because she loves you less, but because she fears that her heart is not safe with you. On the other hand, when she feels emotionally secure, her love expands. She shares her thoughts freely, she opens her heart generously, and she pours into the relationship without hesitation. Her emotional safety becomes the soil in which her love grows. And this safety is not created by money or gifts, but by your ability to listen, to validate, and to stand steady in her storms. One of the deepest forms of emotional safety is knowing that she can be vulnerable without it being used against her later. Too many women have learned to suppress their feelings because in past relationships, their confessions were met with ridicule, manipulation, or weaponization. She wants to know that when she shares her truth with you, it remains sacred, not ammunition. She will never tell you this directly, but she will test it. She may share small pieces of herself at first, watching carefully how you respond. If she sees compassion, presence, and respect, she will give you more. If she sees dismissal or judgment, she will protect herself, and a part of her will never fully open again. It is also in the little things where emotional safety is built. It is in the way you respond when she says she is tired, the way you handle her silence when she has had a hard day, or the patience you show when she is overwhelmed. It is in the way you remember her worries, not to solve them, but to acknowledge that they matter to you because she matters to you. Emotional safety is less about solving and more about holding space. It is about creating a container where she feels free to be her full self, messy, imperfect, and real, without fear of rejection. She may never verbalize it, but her love thrives in that container. Many men underestimate the power of simply listening without defense. When she comes to you with a problem, she does not always want answers, she wants empathy. She wants to feel heard, not corrected. She wants to feel seen, not dismissed. It is not about agreeing with everything she says, but about validating that her feelings are real to her. A safe man does not belittle, mock, or minimize. He acknowledges, supports, and respects. This type of presence builds trust in ways money cannot. You cannot buy her deepest loyalty, but you can earn it by creating safety for her heart. Emotional safety also means consistency. She wants to know that your love will not disappear when she is at her lowest, that your affection is not conditional on her being happy or easy to love. She wants to know that she can bring her frustrations, her doubts, and even her disagreements to you without fear that you will withdraw or punish her. It is in your steadiness, your ability to remain grounded when emotions run high, that she feels most secure. She may never say it, but she longs for a love that does not flee when tested, a love that proves it can withstand the weight of reality. If you observe carefully, you will notice that when a woman feels safe, she blooms. Her laughter becomes louder, her touch becomes warmer, and her presence becomes lighter. She becomes more affectionate, more playful, and more trusting. This is not because she suddenly changed, but because safety allows her to return to her natural state. When she feels unsafe, she contracts. When she feels safe, she expands. This is why emotional safety is more valuable than diamonds. It brings out the fullness of who she truly is, something no material possession can ever buy. The truth is, emotional safety is a silent request that every woman carries, but few dare to voice. She may never ask you directly because she fears sounding needy or too emotional. But her heart speaks through her actions, her openness, and her energy. When you create safety, she responds with loyalty, intimacy, and a deeper connection. When you neglect it, she pulls away, sometimes quietly, sometimes permanently. It is the invisible foundation that determines the strength of the relationship, even if she never utters a word about it. So while she may appreciate the gifts, the dinners, and the vacations, what she truly longs for is a man who will sit with her in her vulnerability, hold her in her weakness, and cherish her in her raw humanity. She wants to know that her tears will not be mocked, that her silence will not be ignored, and that her flaws will not push you away. She may never tell you this outright, but her heart waits for it every single day. Emotional safety is the love she desires most, and without it, nothing else can truly satisfy. A woman may not always put it into words, but she deeply longs for you to anticipate her needs without her having to spell them out. This does not mean she expects you to read her mind or predict every detail, but it does mean she wants to feel that you are attentive enough to notice. She wants to feel that you are paying attention to the rhythm of her moods, the small shifts in her energy, and the subtle ways she communicates without words. When you respond before she has to ask, it tells her that you see her, that you value her, and that you are emotionally present. Anticipating her needs is not about perfection. It is about showing her that she matters enough for you to notice what others overlook. This anticipation is one of the most profound yet quiet forms of love. It's the moment you bring her a glass of water when she is exhausted without her asking. It's when you notice she's overwhelmed with work and decide to take on one of her responsibilities without waiting for instructions. It's when you sense her silence and lean in with a hug, not with questions or pressure. These small gestures may seem insignificant, but they carry a weight that gifts or grand acts cannot match. They whisper to her heart that you are tuned into her, that you see beyond the surface, and that you care enough to act before being told. Women often won't ask for these things because they don't want to feel like a burden. She might not want to repeat herself or constantly instruct you on how to love her. She wants to feel that your love flows naturally, that you are present enough to notice without her having to demand. When she has to repeatedly point out what she needs, it can sometimes make her feel unseen, or worse, unloved. But when you move proactively, when you notice the unspoken, she feels cherished in a way that words can hardly capture. This attentiveness is how she knows you are not just physically near her, but emotionally connected to her. It is also about recognizing her patterns and rhythms. Perhaps you've noticed she gets quiet after a long day at work, not because she is angry, but because she needs time to decompress. Anticipating her need means giving her space without making it about you, maybe even creating a calming environment for her to rest. Or perhaps you notice that she lights up when you remember the little things she mentioned in passing. Her favorite snack, the way she likes her coffee, the small dream she told you months ago. When you act on these details, it tells her she is not just heard, she is remembered. And to a woman, being remembered is one of the deepest forms of love. Anticipating her needs also means protecting her in moments when she doesn't want to ask for help. She may be carrying stress, responsibilities, or emotions that weigh heavily, and while she is fully capable of managing them, she still longs for you to step in. Not because she is weak, but because she wants to know that she doesn't have to carry everything alone. When you notice the heaviness before she voices it, and you choose to shoulder some of it with her, you communicate partnership. You show her that you are not only there for the good times, but also attentive enough to lighten her load when she needs it most. This level of awareness requires you to be fully present. It means putting down distractions, looking into her eyes, and truly listening. It means observing the nuances in her body language, the slight changes in her tone, the words she doesn't say. Too often, men miss these signals because they are preoccupied with their own world. But when you pause, when you truly observe, you will notice her unspoken needs. She may not tell you she's feeling insecure that day, but her hesitation will show it. She may not admit she is exhausted, but her sighs will reveal it. It is in those details that anticipation is born. A woman thrives in love when she feels deeply seen. When you anticipate her needs, you show her that she is not invisible in your world, that you are paying attention even when she isn't speaking. This attentiveness builds trust and intimacy. It tells her that you are emotionally invested in her happiness, not just doing the bare minimum to keep the relationship afloat. She may not ask for this directly, but her heart craves it silently. It is the reassurance that she is worth the effort, that your love is active and alive, not passive or indifferent. It's important to note that anticipating her needs does not mean losing yourself or erasing your own. It is not about becoming a servant, but about becoming a partner who pays attention. The beauty of it is that when a woman feels seen and cared for in this way, she responds with greater love, affection, and appreciation. She becomes more nurturing, more giving, and more open, because love that is reciprocated in action makes her heart overflow. Anticipation is not one-sided. It creates a cycle where both partners feel valued and supported. She will never come out and say, "I need you to notice the little things without me telling you." But her reaction when you do will tell you everything. The way her face softens, the way her eyes light up, the way her body relaxes. It's her silent thank you. She may never admit how much she needed that small act of awareness, but deep down, she will carry the memory of it as proof of your love. Anticipation is not about being perfect, but about being present. And presence is the deepest gift you can give her. So even though she may never voice it, this longing to be noticed, to be cared for without asking, lives quietly in her heart. She wants to feel that you are attuned enough to know when she needs comfort, when she needs space, when she needs encouragement, and when she simply needs you. She wants to know that you are listening to her even when she is not speaking. Anticipating her needs is the unspoken language of love, the one she will never ask for directly, but will always treasure when you give it. Every woman you meet carries many roles on her shoulders. She is often a daughter, a sister, a professional, perhaps a mother, a caregiver, a friend, and a partner. Society trains her to excel in all of these areas, to keep giving, to keep proving, and to keep showing up in ways that serve others. What she rarely voices is that beneath all those titles, she longs to be seen as more than the roles she performs. She wants you to recognize the woman behind the responsibilities, the soft, vulnerable, human side of her that doesn't need to be strong all the time. She may not say it, but deep inside, she wants to know that she is valued not just for what she does, but for who she truly is. Often, women carry the silent pressure of being everything to everyone. At work, she may need to be sharp and decisive. At home, she might need to be nurturing and patient. To her family, she might be the problem solver, the dependable one, the strong one. In friendships, she may be the loyal listener. In all of these roles, she gives so much of herself that sometimes she loses sight of the woman she is when she strips all those identities away. What she secretly desires is for you to see her when she is not performing, when she is not carrying a role, when she is simply herself. That recognition is one of the greatest gifts you can give her. There is a deep hunger in women to be seen in their raw humanity, without judgment and without expectation. She wants to know that if she falters in her roles, you will not love her less. She wants to know that your admiration is not just tied to her being the perfect partner, the perfect mother, or the perfect professional, but that it extends to the imperfect, flawed, and real parts of her too. She may never come out and ask for this because vulnerability is risky, but her silence is often a shield hiding this desire. She wants to exhale with you, to lay down the weight of perfection, and to be accepted exactly as she is. When you take the time to see the woman behind the roles, you connect with her essence. You begin to notice her laughter, her quirks, her unique way of looking at the world. You begin to appreciate her dreams, her fears, and her desires, separate from the roles she plays. This kind of seeing is intimate because it says, "I recognize you beyond the masks you wear for the world." And when a woman feels seen in this way, she softens. She doesn't have to prove herself or perform, she can simply be. That freedom creates a deeper love, a stronger connection, and an intimacy that words alone cannot build. What she does not always reveal is that there are days when she feels invisible. When her efforts as a partner, as a professional, or as a caregiver go unnoticed, she feels like her worth is tied only to output. In those moments, she aches for someone to remind her that she is more than the things she accomplishes. She wants to be adored for her presence, not just her performance. She may never say this because society teaches her to keep giving, to keep enduring, and to never complain. But deep down, she longs for a love that reminds her that her being is enough. Seeing the woman behind the roles also means recognizing her need for rest, softness, and care. She may appear strong and capable on the outside, but that doesn't mean she doesn't crave moments of tenderness. She wants to be held without needing to earn it, to be comforted without having to justify it, to be admired without having to work for it. When you provide that, you create a sanctuary where she can lay down her armor. She will never ask for it outright because she has been conditioned to believe she must carry everything alone. But when you offer it freely, you show her that she is safe enough to put the armor down with you. There is also a spiritual depth to seeing the woman behind the roles. It is about recognizing her soul, not just her surface. It's about valuing her opinions, her creativity, her inner world, the parts of her that are not always visible. Too often, women are praised for how well they manage tasks or how they serve others, but what truly fills her heart is being cherished for her essence. She may never demand this because she fears being misunderstood, but when you see it and acknowledge it, she feels deeply validated. She feels chosen not just for what she gives, but for who she is. When you practice seeing her in this way, you'll notice the way she responds. She becomes more radiant, more expressive, and more open with you. That's because when a woman feels recognized at her core, she blooms. She doesn't need to keep proving or hiding. She feels free to express her authentic self. This is why so many women crave a love that goes beyond surface attraction. They want a love that penetrates beyond roles and responsibilities, a love that sees them when they are unguarded. She will never put it into those words, but her heart aches for it every day. It is also important to understand that seeing the woman behind the roles doesn't require grand gestures. It is often in the smallest acknowledgments. It's telling her she looks beautiful when she's in sweatpants, not just when she's dressed up. It's appreciating her laughter, her thoughts, her quiet presence, not just her actions. It's reminding her that you value her not for what she brings to the table, but for the person she is at her core. These small reminders carry immense weight because they tell her she is loved beyond her utility. They tell her she is seen. So even though she may never articulate it, this longing to be recognized beyond her roles is one of the deepest needs she carries. She wants to be seen when she is tired, when she is messy, when she is vulnerable, and when she is simply human. She wants to be valued not just as a partner, a mother, or a professional, but as a woman with a soul, a heart, and a spirit. She wants to know that you notice the person she is behind the masks she wears for the world. And when you give her that recognition, you offer her one of the purest forms of love, the kind that reaches her essence and whispers, "I see you."